The story begins with the fact that the emperor's subordinates could not believe that the emperor managed to obtain such a rare artifact as the dragon essence and said that it really is the embodiment of the legend. Subordinates continued to congratulate the emperor, and when the emperor touched this artifact, clouds suddenly thickened in the sky and lightning struck. And then suddenly, after all these events, the guy woke up and was shocked that he had this nightmare again. The guy took his phone out of his pocket and was surprised why it was so hot, and besides, his phone's screen didn't light up. The guy got angry and thought that now how will he play a game called Rare and Unusual Pets. And then his teacher turned to the guy and said that it looks like Zhu Ling didn't sleep too well and that's why he wasn't coordinated and fell asleep in her lesson. All of Zhu Ling's classmates laughed and told the teacher that he just dreamed about some scary Pokemon again. Zhu Ling stood up and apologized to the teacher. The guy completely forgot that he was sitting in class. Lately he has often fallen asleep in class. He thought that who needs this boring school because it was so inconvenient to play games here. And then suddenly his phone lit up and game updates were being installed on it. The guy thought that his phone was freezing again and that strange new updates had been installed. The guy's name was Zhu Ling and he was a third-year student at Fengyi High School. He was very addicted to a new game called Rare and Unusual Pets. He always played it and couldn't stop. Zhu Ling only had one legendary pet left to collect before completing the level, and if he got this pet, he would become the best player on the national server. The guy thought that perhaps he would even become the best in the world, but to his regret, there was no news about this legendary pet, but he thought that he would still be the first in this game. But suddenly a girl approached Zhu Ling. She was alarmed and said that she had to tell him something very important. This was class representative Zhang Xiaoling. She was a very timid and shy girl. She told the guy that there would be a handsome man tonight and advised him to return home early. But Zhu Ling did not pay attention to her words and said that his search engine had found a new pet. He quickly ran away from there, finally telling the last pet to wait for him. Zhang Xiaoling was very upset because the guy finally told her that if she had something to say to him, then let her say it next time. The girl thought that everything happened as usual and that he again did not listen to her. It was pouring rain outside. Zhu Ling thought that he should have expected something like this from a legendary pet, because even the location there was special. The guy was standing next to some pond. Over time, the rain only got worse. The guy thought that the pet could be in the pond. His app showed that the last pet was clearly somewhere nearby. The guy decided that nothing would stop him, and after these words he began to go down into the water. He walked on water and thought that this exact place was shown on his map. Zhu Ling probed with his hand and searched for the legendary pet in the depths of the pond, but suddenly he turned around and, suddenly frightened, fell into the water. A mysterious creature with wings hovered in the air in front of him. The guy looked at her and asked what gender she was. The creature flew up close to the guy and replied that she was a girl and that she remembered her face. She said she would end things with him now. But suddenly this girl fell asleep cuddled up to the guy. Zhu Ling was shocked and could not move. The guy just looked at her in surprise. And then suddenly a notification came to his phone that he had found a legendary class pet. Zhu Ling couldn't believe that he had found the legendary pet. After these events, Zhu Ling returned to his room. The guy sat and thought that he had never heard anything about capturing a real waifu from the game. Meanwhile, that same legendary pet was sleeping in his bed, but after some time she began to come to her senses and wake up. Suddenly the girl stood up and told the guy that he really was a bastard and called him the damned emperor. She was angry and asked at that very second to return her treasure to her. The girl swung her hand and wanted to attack the guy. Zhu Ling was very scared, but she couldn't hit him. She said that she had no strength left. She burst into tears and said that only he was to blame for all this and because of him she was so weak. Zhu Ling was very surprised because he had no idea what she was talking about and said that she seemed to have confused him with someone and asked her to stop crying because it was the first time he had seen her. The girl screamed and said that he was lying and called him a disgusting person and said that she did not want to see him and said that he was definitely the person she was talking about. The guy got distracted by the conversation and completely forgot that he was cooking pork chops in the microwave, and the girl, smelling this smell, suddenly became joyful. Zhu Ling had no idea what she was talking about and thought that maybe it was hunger that was clouding her mind and asked her to eat and calm down. The guy said that he is not some kind of emperor and his name is Zhu Ling. The girl said that she was the guardian dragon of the western lands and she was also known as Kushi. The guy was shocked and asked if she was saying all this seriously. she asked that a 2078-year-old dragon really couldn't come up with a normal joke. The guy simply smiled and asked how did she end up in the pond. The girl said that he took her dragon essence and that she was transported here to get her power back. She said that she not only lost her strength but also lost her previous appearance. The guy had the feeling that he had already heard somewhere about the essence of the dragon, and then the girl asked the guy that he really wasn't the emperor. The guy replied that he was not an emperor and asked the girl to look at his clothes and said that he even had holes in his pockets. He asked if the emperor would live in such a small room like this. The girl said that he really looks different, but finally added that their smells are very similar and suddenly began to sniff the guy in detail. And suddenly at that moment a notification arrived on the guy's phone. It said that he had opened a secret quest and they asked that he undergo new training as soon as possible. The guy was surprised that a new thread had really opened. The application said that the lost treasure opened a new secret mission and the first player to open the entire branch will receive the main prize, the real essence of the dragon. And suddenly the girl grabbed the phone from the guy's hands and said that this was it, that this was her dragon essence. She said she just needed to cast a spell. But when she cast the spell, nothing happened. Zhu Ling said he didn't think it would work. Kushi was surprised and asked if he really wants to tell her that this is not the essence of a dragon. Zhu Ling said that this so-called dragon essence is the highest reward for a hidden mission, and you need to collect all the pets in order to get this gem. Kushi asked the guy to start searching faster, but he replied that everything is not so simple and that this mission has conditions. He had to be the first to open all the cells in the branch, otherwise he would not have received the reward. But finally the guy said that if all the stories she told were true, then she would probably have to become his pet. Kushi wondered if she would have to become his pet. She thought that a person would really become her master. But the guy said that he already has a flower fairy and that she loves such battles. The guy said that by quickly completing the collection task they could get a reward. But the guy thought that it was just a game and she was a real person. The guy thought what should he do now? And then Kushi said that she should become his pet in order to find her essence. She said that so be it and agreed to become his pet. And suddenly, after these words, strange waves appeared from the phone. Zhu Ling was surprised and didn't know what it was, and then these waves completely enveloped Kushi. And suddenly a notification came to his phone that he had received a new pet named Kushi. The guy was surprised and shocked that it really worked. Zhu Ling went to bed after all these events, but suddenly Kushi began to wake him up. She told him to get up and go with her to find the essence of the dragon. The guy thought that it seemed like his leisurely life as a high school student had come to an end. But suddenly Kexi gave the guy a box and said that someone had put it under the door. Zhu Ling thought that this was really from the game. He thought that it was really possible to buy real things with gold. And when he opened the box, he discovered that there were some clothes there. Kushi saw the clothes and asked to try them on. The guy said that these were girls' clothes and that they were specially designed for her. The girl started trying on clothes and the guy thought that apparently the clothes were an additional bonus from the game developers. All the clothes fit her perfectly. Kexi said it doesn't look that bad. Zhu Ling thought she looked too cute in this outfit. But suddenly he received a notification from the game on his phone. The guy thought that this was really an urgent message from the game. This message was the last message in the top. The guy read the message and was very surprised and didn't understand. Did the police really know nothing about this? After all, he received a message that someone had committed suicide. Zhu Ling sat and thought that this was not good because of this incident the game could be closed. Kushi asked what this means. The guy explained that if a girl dies because of this application, then it could be blocked forever. And suddenly, looking at the place from the message, the guy recognized this place. It was a small closed store that he had visited earlier. Zhu Ling remembered that he bought instant noodles there on sale. Kushi asked the guy what are they waiting for. The guy was very annoyed by this. He thought that why is she not one of his favorite pets. He told her that they would go there now and told her to calm down. They quickly arrived at the guy's secret spot selling cheap instant noodles, and Kushi pointed her finger at the roof and said that there was some girl there. Zhu Ling asked her to run faster before this girl jumped off from there. They quickly climbed the stairs to the roof. Suddenly, Kushi saw the girl and asked her to return the essence of the dragon to her. The girl didn't understand what she was asking. The girl told them to stand and not come near her. Kushi wanted to talk to this girl, but the guy asked to leave it to him. Zhu Ling told the girl that he would not come close to her and could she tell him her name. She replied that it doesn't make any difference. Kushi once again asked the girl if she had her dragon essence. The girl burst into tears and said that she was not playing this game but just wanted to find her mother. The girl said that she simply followed the instructions, and after these words were spoken, she backed away and fell down. But unexpectedly, Zhu Ling barely managed to grab her hand. The guy dragged her back to the roof and thereby miraculously saved her from death. But the guy sacrificed himself to save this girl and, throwing her onto the roof, he himself suddenly flew down. Zhu Ling fell and thought that this was really the end, and would he really die in such a stupid way? He wondered who would get his figurines, as well as rare pets and gold accounts. The girl from the roof looked at the falling guy and said that not this. Kushi said that even if she has almost no strength left, she will do it. Zhu Ling remembered Kushi's strength. He thought that he should definitely try to use her power because he thought that it was directly related to this game. The guy entered the game and pressed the button to call a character, and suddenly Kushi appeared in front of him in a new mesmerizing appearance. There were a couple of meters left to the ground and Kushi quickly flew towards the guy. But suddenly the ground shook and a large shock wave thundered. Kushi managed to save the guy. She hugged the guy tightly. Zhu Ling unhooked from her and said that he almost suffocated and that she was hugging too tightly, and finally thanked the girl. The guy looked at her and said that her body had somehow changed. Kushi said that this was one of her previous bodies, and on top of everything else, she even had her own tail. The guy said that they would talk about it later and asked Kushi to take him upstairs. She picked him up and told him not to worry. Zhu Ling, looking down, only now realized how high it was there. At the same time, the girl sat on the roof and sobbed that it all happened because of her, but suddenly when she saw the guy, she was happy and said that she couldn't believe that he was alive. She hugged the guy and asked him for forgiveness. But the guy replied that he needed to say thank you to his sister Kushi. The girl thanked her for turning into such an ant. But suddenly everything around was enveloped in smoke, and after that Kushi returned to her previous appearance. Kushi was upset that she returned to this weak body again. But the girl grinned and asked Kexi not to be upset and said that little Kexi looked very cute. Kushi agreed with the girl Xiao and said that it was good that she was fine, and then she told her to go and said that her brother would take her home. After this incident, they all walked down the street together and Kushi asked Xiao to tell her brother why she tried to commit suicide. Xiao said that she is not suicidal. She said she just wanted to learn to fly. The guy was very surprised by the answer he heard. And then suddenly a notification came to the guy's phone that they were following the right route. The guy thought that this was really a hint from the application. Navigator Zhu Ling was also pointing in this direction. The guy thought that this girl could be somehow connected with this application. And then the girl pointed her finger and said that this was her house. Kushi was surprised that her house was so big. Xiao said that her mother had not yet come from work and she asked them to come into the house and sit with her. The girl said that her mother said that she could only bring her friends there, and after these words she asked them not to be shy and come into the house. Girl Xiao asked them to wait and said that she would pour them some fruit juice. Kushi and Zhu Ling apologize for disturbing you. Zhu Ling and Kushi sat on the sofa, and after that Kushi said that this place was very similar to her nest. The guy was surprised. Was she really saying this seriously? Zhu Ling looked at the photo and thought that it seemed to be Xiao's mother. The guy thought that Xiao didn't look like a suicide at all because there was no point in it. The guy thought that why did the girl want to learn to fly? And besides, his mobile phone also indicated that the pet was somewhere nearby. The guy sat and didn't understand anything. Kushi sat and sniffed carefully, and after that she smelled that there was a smell of pork chops and also another person. Xiao brought them fruit juice. Zhu Ling thanked her and said that she saved his life because he had been on his feet for half a day today and was very thirsty. Zhu Ling looked at her and thought that he needed to check if his proposals were correct. The guy asked Xiao why she told him that she wanted to learn to fly. The guy said that if she had difficulties, they could help her. The girl said that she doesn't have a dad and that's why she lives only with her mom. To earn money, her mother had to stay late at work. Xiao said that she is no longer little and cannot constantly ask her mother to pick her up. Xiao looked at the birds and thought that it would be good to learn to fly, because then she could sometimes watch her mother at work. And suddenly a girl came up to her and said that it was not difficult and that she would teach her to fly. She said that she would show her one game and asked Xiao not to be afraid of it. Xiao said that this is how she learned about this game. She said that she saw this girl every day and it was she who told her how to learn to fly. Meanwhile, the guy's app showed that the pet was somewhere nearby. The signal was getting stronger and stronger every second. Zhu Ling told Xiao that he did not want her to communicate with this girl because she almost died because of her, and said that it seems that her friend is not really a child. Xiao was surprised and said that she played with her in the park and on the playground every day until her mother picked her up. The guy replied that in fact everything is not so and said that she only looks like a child. And suddenly Zhao's refrigerator began to shake and suddenly a girl opened the door from the inside. She convinced Xiao that she was not a liar and asked her not to listen to them and said that they were bad people and they wanted to quarrel between them. This girl started running away from there. Kushi asked to grab this girl, and Xiao, looking at all this, asked this girl to wait and not leave. Kushi quickly followed her and when she opened the front door she suddenly slipped and fell. The guy said that everything turned to ice. The girl told him that it was dangerous to contact her and continued to run away from them. She said that they would never catch up with her. Zhu Ling looked at all this and said in bewilderment that this pet was using a strange skill. Kushi said that it looks like she will have to use this trick. The guy was surprised and asked if she also wanted to use some skill. This girl quickly ran out into the street and you would think that she was already very tired. Vitya, after all, she could not run for long. She hoped the ice would hold them back long enough. And suddenly Kushi and Zhu Ling appeared in front of the girl. The guy carried her on his shoulders. Kushi told the girl that it was all because of her ice that she had to participate in such a strange chase. The girl asked them to leave her alone. And suddenly Kushi jumped with all her might on this girl and told her to return the essence of the dragon to her. Kushi wanted to grab her from behind. Kushi almost managed to catch this girl, but at the last moment she deftly dodged and ran away from her. The guy stood up and asked if she had really run away again. Kushi said that this girl again used her damn trick and slipped away from her on the ice. The guy asked her not to be upset. Zhu Ling thought that maybe he should try changing it like last time, but this time the battle button was grayed out and locked. The guy thought why didn't this function work? And suddenly Kushi said that it was time to hunt and began to take off her sneakers. Zhu Ling asked her what she was doing. She took off her clothes and threw them at the guy. Kushi said that soon the dragon's menu will be replenished with a new dish, be it a spirit man or a demon. After these words, Kexi sparkled and finally said that she would not run away from her and jumped in the direction of the girl. Meanwhile, this girl stopped near the river. She thought that she had so little strength left and she needed to quickly catch a fish in the river to replenish her energy. She noticed some movements in the river. The girl thought that this was really the fish of her dreams. But suddenly Kexi jumped on her and said that this time she couldn't escape. Kushi grabbed this girl and said that she really thought that she could escape from her. The girl resisted and asked to be let go. And then Zhu Ling ran up to her and told Kushi that her endurance was beyond human abilities. And then the guy looked at this girl and said that this girl from the refrigerator looks like an ordinary person. The guy asked Kushi that she really wanted to eat this girl. She replied that it was not easy for her to catch her and that is why she wants to do it, but the guy replied that to achieve their goal they need the complete collection. The girl began to cry and asked them to decide quickly and not mock her, and suddenly she turned into a creature that resembled a penguin. Kushi asked the guy what kind of creature this was. The guy replied that he thinks that there is one animal that wants to sit in the refrigerator. And at that moment Xiao ran up to them and said that she had brought them something to eat. Zhu Ling thanked her and said that they were really exhausted from this whole chase. Zhu Ling took the food and walked towards the creature. He asked her that she was probably tired too and asked her to take food. The guy thought the best way to make friends was to share his food. Xiao ran up to this creature and said that they were made from fish that she wanted to eat. She agreed with Xiao and took this food into her paws. Zhu Ling asked her what happened and did she really not want to eat. The mysterious creature replied that she was hungry and smelled very tasty. She said that it reminded her of the aroma of fish from her homeland. She said that their flock was very large and they all lived happily, but she had no parents and because of the strange color of her hair and eyes, she could not make friends with anyone. She said that once she caught a lot of fish, she approached the other penguins and asked to join them and said that she would share the fish with them. But all the penguins started laughing at her and told her to look at her hairy head. They said that she has no parents and is a failure and that's why they don't want to eat her fish. After all these words, they threw snow at her, but after all this, one of them came up to her and said that they could accept her as a friend and play hide and seek with her, but she would have to pass a test and jump down from the top of the mountain. He asked if she had the courage to do this, and if she chickens out, she can forget about friendship. They told her to stand up and said that they would not play with the coward. But suddenly one of the penguins told his boss to look up. The boss looked and realized that she really had gone up there. She screamed at them to keep their word and instantly jumped out of there. And after the jump, she gently landed on the ground. The penguins said that she proved to them that she could be their friend. The boss said that they would play hide and seek, and since her leg hurt she couldn't drive yet. One of them said that he was driving and the rest of the penguins ran to hide. She found a huge boulder and thought it would be a good place to hide. She was so happy and thought that she would invite them all for a fish meal today. She sat and waited, but they could not find her. She thought that maybe she hid too well, because they couldn't leave her. She turned around and was glad that she had finally been found, but instead of penguins there were people with swords in their hands. She said that they were mercenaries and they eventually took her, and after they sold her and sent her to a ship going east, suddenly a magical light turned her into this and she ended up here. And suddenly a bright glow flashed and the girl returned to her former human appearance. She said that just eating together wouldn't make them friends and screamed that she wouldn't buy it. The girls sat and sobbed. She asked them if they had any loved ones. She said that they were just deceiving her and no matter how hard she tried the results would always be the same and she would never have friends. But suddenly Xiao ran up to this girl and hugged her. Xiao asked her not to despair and said that she was not alone and that she had friends she could rely on. Xiao told the girl that she, too, had always been lonely, but then she met her. Her life changed dramatically and became much more interesting. She said that they are always ready to be her friend. After these words, the girl burst into tears and said that she shouldn't have said that. Zhu Ling also approached her and said that he wanted to share all her joys and hardships with her. He said that those who hurt her were not true friends. The guy took a band-aid out of his pocket and asked if she wanted him to heal her wounds. She agreed and then he stuck a plaster on the wound on the girl's leg. He said that it is normal to feel pain or sadness and that there are many things in life that cannot be avoided. Zhu Ling said that with friends you can overcome all difficulties together and that pain and sadness will gradually disappear. The guy asked her to trust her real friends. And suddenly, after all these words, the girl felt warm and calm in her soul. She had never experienced anything like this. Zhu Ling asked if she wanted to be friends with them and extended his hand. Xiao immediately put her hand to his hand. Kushi told them that if friendship involves the presence of pork from pubs, then she is also in the business and put her hand in. And then the girl thanked them and stood up and joined them. Zhu Ling said that today they are all best friends. And suddenly a notification came to his phone that the pet had been caught. Kushi asked him if the collection had really been replenished and asked him to let her look at it. Xiao asked what it was, and he replied that he would explain everything to her later on the way. Zhu Ling told Xiao and the girl that it was time for them to go home. Xiao said that besides, her mother was supposed to come soon. Xiao apologized to the guy and said that she had caused them a lot of trouble today, but the girl replied that it was not Xiao's fault, but Xiao said that it doesn't matter which of them is to blame, because they are true friends. Meanwhile, Zhu Ling was treating Kushi's leg wound. He said that it was a simple abrasion and asked if it really belonged to the dragon race. Zhu Ling told her that she had been chasing this girl around the city all day and wasn't she tired. Kushi replied that everything was fine with her. She said that she just still hasn't gotten her strength back. The guy said that we need to collect 5 more pets, but the guy remembered that he caught this girl differently from Kushi, and these conditions of the game turned out to be interesting to him. And then suddenly a message came to his phone from Xiao and this girl Filo. They thanked the guy and sister Kushi for everything and they also hoped that tomorrow they could play together. After all these events, Zhu Ling fell asleep. Kexi sneaked up to him unnoticed and stole his phone. She wanted to use this magic tablet to find her dragon essence. But the phone did not open at all, and Kushi thought that apparently there were spells of the highest level. She thought that she needed to draw some kind of rune with her fingers. But suddenly Kushi screamed and threw out the phone. Zhu Ling woke up from such screams and asked Kushi what was the matter, but she asked him to save her. She said his magic tablet wanted to attack her. The guy was surprised and picked up the phone, but suddenly Zhu Ling said that no one attacked her and said that she just took a selfie. Kushi asked to take the phone away from her. The guy thought that it was not surprising that she reacted like that because there were no cameras in her world. The guy said that she just took an instant picture of herself and pressed the round white button. Zhu Ling said that he would now show him how it works and took a photo of them together. Kushi was shocked that this picture could be saved. She was very interested because she didn't think that people had such complex artifacts. But the guy suddenly asked her why she was digging through his phone. She replied that she wanted to quickly find her dragon essence, but this tablet of his turned out to be too complicated. The guy agreed with her and said that then he would try to help her, but he hasn't received any messages yet. The guy showed Kushi her card in the app. He said that it only displays the collected cards and you are divided into ranks B, A and C. Kushi asked what kind of icon was on her card. The guy replied that these are her statistics and all her abilities are written there. The guy thought that she was quite strong because she had good performance. Kushi asked the guy if he really thought her abilities were just good. She said that this kitchen worker could not fully understand her greatness. The guy thought that he shouldn't praise her, otherwise she might become arrogant. The girl asked if there was someone who could defeat her and laughed. Zhu Ling thought that last time he managed to activate her card and she turned into an adult woman and he was wondering if he pressed the button again whether this effect would work. The Kushi activation button was not yet available. The guy thought that after 5 minutes of use, do you really need to wait that long for its effect to recharge? The guy thought that he needed to look at Filo's map. To his surprise, she was also quite strong and also had great potential. Zhu Ling thought that Kushi's skill took too long to recharge and that he needed to use it wisely, but the guy thought that why Kexi and Filo are C-rank cards. He thought, what is so special about them? The guy assumed that maybe initially they had great potential. Zhu Ling noticed the affection coefficient on the map. The higher this indicator was, the stronger the pet's transformation would occur. The guy remembered that something similar was in his old version of pets. But suddenly the guy remembered that intimacy in the game was implemented using interactive tasks. He thought that he would have to do all this in real life. But suddenly someone knocked on his door. It was Xiao and Filo. Xiao told the guy that they came to play with them. Filo also greeted them. Zhu Ling was shocked and asked how they got here. Xiao said that Filo simply relied on her feelings and brought her here. Kushi also asked them that how did they get here, that after all, how did they get there because the door was locked. Filo said that she found the key to his room in the mailbox and that there was nothing complicated about it. The guy was upset because he just wanted to relax on the weekend. After that, they all went for a walk outside together. Xiao asked the guy to take them to a good place where they could eat and have fun. Filo said the human world is so cool. Zhu Ling was not at all happy because today there was going to be a pet event at the video game store and he wanted to get good seats in advance. But the guy told the girls to go there and said that it should be quite fun. Everyone else agreed with the guy and followed him. The guy turned around and was surprised because he didn't notice Kushi behind him. Kushi stood and admired the video game store at that time. Xiao said that it looks like the video game store should be interesting. Filo asked them to go there quickly. Xiao asked the guy that this store is really his favorite place. The guy said that he sometimes comes here although he always hung out there. They went into this store and the guy asked what game they would play first. They stocked up on video game tokens. Zhu Ling told Kushi that he would teach her how to play this game. She replied that it was as if she didn't know how to play any games, and after these words they went to play video games. Kushi couldn't believe that she was defeated by the pork chop master, but Kushi looked at the guy and thought he looked very serious. She thought that this guy was so weak that it seemed as if he would bend from a gust of wind, but when it came to games, he became very serious. But suddenly Zhu Ling noticed the head girl in front of him. He was surprised by her appearance and asked if she really works here. The girl replied that she did not work here and that she was just passing by. The head girl looked intently at one toy from the toy machine and she thought that she specially dressed up in this costume so that she would not be recognized, but she got burned because of this toy. But unexpectedly Kushi noticed a baby dragon toy. She told the guy that she wanted this toy because this little dragon was very similar to her. Zhu Ling decided to play this game and after several unsuccessful attempts, the guy finally caught this little dragon and a bunny into the bargain. Kushi hugged this little dragon and said how cute he was. Kushi thanked the guy for such a gift. The guy approached the headman and invited her to take the second toy, because she liked this toy so much. He gave her a toy and said that this was for her because he was skipping classes then. Zhu Ling and Kushi walked over and called Xiao and Filo over. Xiao said that it's really fun and that now she understands why he likes to come here. And suddenly it was announced in the hall that an event dedicated to the game pets would soon begin and they were waiting for all guests on the main site. Zhu Ling thought that the time had come. They approached the main platform. The guy said that this event is much better than stupid games. Xiao was surprised because there were a lot of people gathered there. And then the main presenter came on stage and greeted the guests at this event dedicated to the game of pets. He said that today they have a top guest and main star Zhang Momo. The host said that he was giving the floor to Zhang Momo and that she would explain to them the rules of the tournament. The girl said that today all the players are on the field covered with Wi-Fi and they will all be able to take part in the online battle. Zhang Momo announced that the last player remaining in this game will be given an incredible opportunity to fight against her. The presenter said that the final winner of this tournament will receive a super secret prize for this competition and thereby intrigued all the gathered people. Zhang Momo sat on the chair and said that she would look forward to meeting in the finals. This girl charmed all the assembled fans of the game. But suddenly Kushi told Zhu Ling that she felt that this and the girls had an unusual smell. The guy wanted to turn on his navigator but it didn't work because there were too many people around. Zhu Ling said that he had to get to the finals and asked the girls to wait for him here and said that it would take a little time. There were a lot of people who wanted to try to play this game. The presenter asked everyone to connect to the network to gain the right to participate in the battle. Zhu Ling thought that there must be a lot of good players here. The game began and Zhu Ling thought that from the very beginning he was already being challenged by such a strong opponent, but he could not choose any of the characters and all his hope was directed towards the flower fairy. He expected the fairy to cope with everyone. The host said that this is just the beginning of the match and such exciting battles are already taking place before them. Zhang Momo looked at all this and thought that these crooked deer would not last long. Zhang Momo looked intently at how Zhu Ling was playing because he had defeated all the opponents who challenged him, and she thought that this was already getting interesting. The presenter said that the number of participants had already dropped to 19. Zhu Ling's friends looked at the guy and supported him in every possible way and said that he was the best. Zhu Ling thought that the number of players had really decreased so quickly, because he thought that the best players were gathered here. He wondered where they all went. And after some time, the presenter announced that the most exciting moment had arrived and there was only one player left. The presenter asked this player to go on stage to fight with the most beautiful and powerful star of the gaming world. The host invited all players to take their places and informed everyone that the official second and final round of the match was beginning. He said that they had chosen a special location for their final match. Zhang Momo's pet was one of the rarest and most ancient deep-sea beasts in the entire north. Zhang Momo told the guy that she had noticed him from the very beginning, but she didn't think that he would survive until the final battle. The flower fairy told Zhu Ling that she had no chance against this pet because this beast was C rank, and when this beast let out its roar, the fairy suddenly lost consciousness. The presenter said that he should have thought that one of the pets would fail just from one roar. Zhang Momo said that this is so boring, and she asked that the game really ended there, and then the host said that the player must immediately change his pet, otherwise they will be forced to disqualify him. The presenter said that one of the applicants was faced with an urgent need to change his pet. He was wondering what kind of pet he would choose. Zhu Ling definitely didn't expect him to be so strong. He had no pets left that could resist this monster and he didn't know what to do next. Zhang Momo asked the guy not to give up and said that she would root for him, but in fact, deep down in her heart, she thought that this was very flawed and that she might succumb to this guy. All the spectators looked at Zhang Momo and thought how kind she was. The announcer said that today's match will be a platform for Zhang Momo's fan club. Kushi told the guy that if he doesn't hurry up and doesn't do anything, he will be removed from this tournament. Finally, she added that the food in their house would soon start to stink. Suddenly, Zhu Ling focused his attention on the word stink, and suddenly he realized that he could use it. Zhu Ling thanked Kushi for this idea. Zhu Ling chose his pet Andre Crowder. The presenter said that their debutante summoned a stone slime that could be caught at the entrance to the newcomer's village. All the people gathered laughed at this choice. They said that it was difficult to call him a pet and he was worth nothing. They said that he doesn't even know how to attack and what use could he be. Filo asked Xiao why all these people were laughing. Xiao replied that Zhu Ling's pet only had one layer of thick armor and said that this character had no attack power and was very weak. Xiao didn't understand what he wanted to do. Zhang Momo said that she thinks that she should thank the guy for such a fight and then finish with him as soon as possible. She said that she was very sorry but she did it anyway and ordered her monster to finish off this worthless pet. Moby Dick began attacking the stone slime. Zhu Ling asked his pet to hurry up and use his skill, the pet agreed with the guy. And suddenly Zhang Mo was shocked that the stone slime armor could withstand this attack. The presenter said that they did not expect such a turn and the armor of the stone slime withstood the blow, but he was wondering how long this baby would last. He said that as soon as the armor breaks, this baby will be left without any protection. Zhang Momo never thought that such a weak pet could have such strong armor, and then she thought that she would have to prepare for a serious attack. And suddenly Zhang Mo activated a monster skill called Crazy Strike, and then her crazy monster began to approach the stone slime. The presenter said that the strongest pet Zhang Mo is exerting a colossal pressure on this little pet. He wondered if the stone slime could withstand such a fierce attack. And suddenly, after so many attacks, the stone slime's armor broke and now he was left without any protection, and besides, he had spent almost all his health. But suddenly, for some reason, the cracked slime armor released pale blue dust, and suddenly inhaling this dust, Zhang Mo's pet fell asleep. Everyone couldn't believe their eyes and didn't know what was happening there. Zhang Mo couldn't believe what this guy did. Zhu Ling said that he fed the stone slime sleeping grass and the destruction of its armor released a special sleeping gas. Zhang Mo couldn't believe how this could happen because this pet was in the lowest class of pets. Zhu Ling said that who told her that a low-class pet could not defeat the strongest pet? Zhu Ling said that her pet was sleeping. He told her to wake him up or call for a new pet. The competition was limited in time, and if she could not defeat him within 20 moves, she would lose the fight, and according to the rules, a tie between high and low would mean the higher rank would automatically lose. Zhang Mo said that she would not give up so easily, and suddenly Zhang Mo gave her pet poison and he was able to wake up from the damage he received. The stone slime looked at everything and thought that this really looked like the end. Zhang Mo ordered her monster to destroy this pet, and suddenly there was a deafening roar and the hall became very quiet because all the people were frozen in bewilderment. Everyone thought that Zhang Mo was the winner of this tournament, but suddenly, looking at the screen, all the people saw that a whole bunch of slimes had appeared in the arena. Everyone thought that it seemed to have split up in some unexpected way. Zhang Mo looked at everything that was happening. Tears involuntarily rolled down her eyes and she could not believe that she would lose in front of her fans. Time is up and the match is over, and according to their rules of the game, victory was awarded to their challenger. The host said that Zhu Ding will receive the main prize that they have prepared. All of Zhu Ling's friends were delighted that he managed to win this tournament, despite the fact that no one believed in him and everyone thought that he would be the first to fly out of the tournament. Zhang Mo slowly stood up from her chair, and the presenter invited her to present the prize to their winner. Zhang Mo was very upset and she did not want to go to the guy. The main prize was a card that could revive any pet. The presenter said that the resurrection card is very rare in this game and this was the first time he saw its owner with his own eyes. Zhu Ling thanked Zhang Mo for playing well. She presented him with the trophy and congratulated him on winning the match, but finally, she advised him to be careful on the way home and said that anything can happen on the streets. The presenter said that they had witnessed a fantastic game. He thanked everyone who participated in this tournament and said that this event was over. Xiao said that the event was so interesting that she didn't even notice how time flew by. She asked everyone to hurry home. Zhu Ling said that he knew a shortcut and took them along this road. The guy said that today's victory was not easy for him, but the prize was definitely worth it. However, Zhang Mo suddenly appeared in front of him and said that he would have to pay dearly for this prize. She said that he had just embarrassed her in front of everyone and asked him not to think that she would let him go so easily. Zhu Ling told her that he won this match fairly, but she asked him to come down to earth and said that he had not won anything. She said that she would now show him how she plays and suddenly jumped towards the guy. Filo told the guy that she would cover for him and immediately froze everything around him, but suddenly Zhang Mo stood on her feet. Filo looked at it all and didn't understand how this was possible. Zhang Mo said that she didn't think that this girl would turn out to be non-human, but she added that now she wouldn't have to hold back and began to turn into someone. Zhu Ling was surprised that she was the one who was the pet. The guy thought that why then he couldn't find it during the game. Zhang Mo replied that it was none of his business. Suddenly, strange changes began to occur to Zhang Mo. Filo looked at her and thought that she had really torn her clothes in order to walk on the ice, but for some reason she walked smoothly and did not slip, Kushi heard and asked what these strange sounds were. Kushi wanted to attack her but Zhu Ling told her that he could not activate her card now. Kushi replied that she could cope with her without any effort. But Kushi could not do anything against Zhang Momo, and then Kushi realized that she was quite strong. Suddenly, Kushi wanted to hit her with her claws, but Zhang Momo grabbed her hand and said that they have no idea what it's like to lose their fans. And suddenly Zhang Momo threw Kushi aside with all her strength. Zhu Ling quickly ran up to her and grabbed her and told Filo and Xiao that it was time for them to escape from there. Zhang Momo told them that they could not run away from her just like that. Meanwhile, they broke away from her, and suddenly the guy turned around and wondered why Zhang Momo didn't catch up with them. But suddenly, the head girl appeared in front of Zhang Momo. She blocked her way and said that she would not pass. Zhang Momo told her to leave and said that she was not going to participate in this. The girl told Zhang Momo that she had no other choice. Zhang Momo got angry at these words and said that she would teach her politeness, and she jumped the girl with the intention of hitting her. But suddenly the girl took her sword and swung it. She said that this technique was created during her trip to the east in Fujian province. Zhang Momo fell to the ground and the head girl said that this blow would be enough to send her to the world of dreams. She said that if she didn't leave them alone, then next time she wouldn't get off so easily. Meanwhile, morning came. The head girl woke up at 6 in the morning and thought that she needed to hurry up to study. She looked at the dormitory and thought that Zhu Ling was probably still sleeping. She made sure that there was no one nearby, and after warming up, she suddenly ran along the walls of this hostel. She was moving incredibly fast. The head woman stood on the balcony and looked at how Zhu Ling slept. She started waking him up, and after he woke up she was glad that she did a great job with this task. And after that the head girl came to school. She overheard the principal's conversation with her teacher. The principal told her that one student was far behind the class and it was Zhu Ling from her class. The director said it was time to do something about it and she thought they should expel him. The headman heard all this and thought that it looked like Zhu Ling had big problems. All the students gathered in the classroom and the teacher asked them if they had seen the results of the midterm test. She said that everyone is given the opportunity to take the exam again. But the teacher added that if the test was failed again, then their class would not participate in the fall excursions, and some who especially distinguished themselves would be expelled altogether. She said that these words particularly apply to Zhu Ling. The teacher told the guy that not only had he not improved, but he was even further behind the rest of the class, and she said that she thought that with such an attitude he would not be able to pass the exam. The headman listened to all this and thought that she should somehow help Zhu Ling. She told the teacher that she was ready to help Zhu Ling prepare for the test. All the other students also wanted the head girl to help them with their studies. After finishing the lesson, Zhu Ling approached the old man and thanked her. The guy said that she helped him out a lot and finally added that it looks like tomorrow he will start bothering her. The head girl replied that there was no need to thank her because, as the head of the class, she was obliged to help other students. But suddenly the guy said that her whole face was red and asked her if she was sick. She replied that everything is fine. But unexpectedly, Zhu Ling touched her forehead and took her temperature. He said that everything seemed fine, but finally, he advised her to take her temperature when she gets home. Zhu Ling said goodbye to her and did not say that they would see each other tomorrow. The head woman sat and didn't understand why he didn't notice how well she treated him. Evening came and meanwhile the head girl was training with a katana in her hands, but today for some reason her heart was uneasy. She found it difficult to calm her feelings. She thought that maybe it was because tomorrow she would be left alone with Zhu Ling. The head woman had not experienced this feeling for a long time. She thought it was a strange and familiar feeling, although there was nothing strange in this. The last time she felt such feelings was 600 years ago. Meanwhile, Kushi asked the pork chop master why he returned home so late yesterday, and asked if he would be late again today. Zhu Ling replied that he needed to go to school and then prepare for the exam after class. Kushi heard about the school and thought it was a very fun place. And suddenly Kexi told the guy that he wants to go to school to have fun and leaves her alone at home. She said that she would also go to school with him and asked the guy to take her with him. But Kushi fell and the guy asked her to be careful and said that her wound from the recent fight with Zhang Momo had not yet healed. Zhu Ling looked at this wound and thought that this bruise looked quite strange. Finally, Zhu Ling told Kushi that Filo would come and play with her. He asked her to look after the house and said that if she behaved he would buy her a meatloaf. Meanwhile, Zhu Ling met with the headman. He asked her forgiveness for the fact that he had to go to her and said that his apartment was a terrible mess. The head girl asked me not to even think about it. Zhu Ling asked the headman why she returned such a distance to her house on foot every day. She replied that she had very strong legs. She asked the guy not to worry and said that they had already arrived. Zhu Ling saw her house and was very surprised and asked her if she really lived in this house. She agreed and asked the guy to come into the house. The guy said that her house is quite unusual. The head woman asked the guy to sit down and said that she would prepare tea for him. Zhu Ling agreed and thanked the girl. The girl made him tea and asked if he liked it. The guy replied that this was the most delicious tea he had ever tasted. After that, she asked him to start doing his homework. Zhu Ling looked at the task they had to complete and said that it looked like it would not be easy. The headman replied that everything was fine and said that they had nowhere to rush. The head girl suggested that he start with an English lesson. She checked his work and corrected all his mistakes. She taught him how to arrange everything correctly and without mistakes. But suddenly the guy lost consciousness. The head woman ordered His Majesty to stand up and said that his homework was not done yet. Zhu Ling wondered why she called him that. And suddenly when Zhu Ling opened his eyes, he saw that Kushi was sitting on him and playing games on the phone. The guy was shocked by what he saw. He screamed and asked her to get off him. Zhu Ling stood up and decided to wash his face. He brushed his teeth and thought about what a strange dream he had. Although this was not the first time he had dreams like this, he wanted to work it out. The guy got ready to go to school and finally told Kushi to take care of the house in his absence. Zhu Ling was surprised because today Kushi was very obedient and did not argue with him. Zhu Ling came to the headman and she immediately treated him to tea. They started classes and the head girl said that he could look at her notes to understand the meaning of this paragraph. The guy looked at her notes and was shocked because she knew where he most often made mistakes. Zhu Ling thought that although she sometimes says some strange things, she is actually a good person. Zhu Ling sat and did his homework. He had already begun to succeed in many things and he thought that it turned out that learning was not so difficult. The headman looked at the guy and closed her eyes and imagined past times. She imagined him as an emperor. Zhu Ling told the girl that one day he would sail into the sea and sail around the world and catch one of the ancient dragons, but the headman told him that there is only one dragon in the world. And suddenly Zhu Ling called her and asked her that she was really so tired that she fell asleep. The girl replied that she was fine and asked him to continue studying. But unexpectedly, Kushi stood in the courtyard and watched as Zhu Ling spent time with this girl. She thought that it turned out that he came home late because he spent all this time with this girl. Kushi thought that Zhu Ling was happy with this girl and she felt sad about it. She wondered why she should care about such things. In the evening, Zhu Ling returned home and told Kushi that he brought her the pork ribs cooked by the headman. The guy asked her to try this food and said that she would lick her fingers from the taste. Kushi did not answer, but the TV in her room was turned on, and she herself sat on the porch and admired the city. Zhu Ling greeted Kushi and asked her what she was doing there. The guy noticed that she didn't even finish her breakfast and he thought she wasn't feeling well. The guy approached her and asked if she would have dinner. But Kushi sat silently and did not answer the guy. Zhu Ling realized that Kushi was not eating anything and was ignoring him. He thought of taking her to a hospital or veterinary clinic. The guy said that if her appetite did not return, he would take her to the doctor tomorrow. Kushi thought she wouldn't eat this girl's food. After all these events they went to bed. Kexi lay there and thought about everything. She thought that she could handle it because it was some kind of trifle for her, and after these words she tried to sleep. The next day after school, Zhu Ling told the headman that he would not be able to study with her today because he had urgent matters at home. The head woman said goodbye to him. The guy went home and wondered how Kushi was doing. He was thinking that he should take her to the doctor as soon as possible, since she had changed a lot yesterday. Zhu Ling came home and asked Kushi if her appetite had returned. But suddenly, entering the kitchen, he noticed that the whole room was shrouded in smoke and Kushi was sitting there, and she told the guy that the fire magic did not work. After that, Zhu Ling asked her if she was really trying to cook something on her own. The guy said that fortunately everything worked out and added that since she had prepared dinner, she would try the taste of this food. Zhu Ling looked at the food and thought it looked very creepy. He hoped that his liver would not fail after this meal and he began to try this terrible food. Kushi asked if he liked it and the guy replied that her culinary skills were a little raw, but for the first time she did it very well. Kushi laughed and said that she always does everything well and told the guy that in that case she would bring him extra. The guy immediately refused the supplement and said that he was already full. The next morning all the students wrote the exam. The teacher said that time was up and she would collect all the papers. Zhu Ling was happy because he managed to answer all the questions. And suddenly he looked out the window and didn't understand what was happening there, because a whole crowd of onlookers had gathered there and Zhu Ling noticed that Kushi was standing there in the middle. All the students came up to her and began asking her about various things. Kushi listened to them all and thought that the noble dragon did not need human praise. And then Zhu Ling immediately approached her and took her hand and dragged her to the side. The assembled students looked at them and were surprised. Was this guy her relative or brother? And then one of the guys said that a lot of beauties had been gathering around Zhu Ling lately. Deep down they were all jealous of him but they didn't talk about it. Zhu Ling took her to the warehouse and said that they had finally broken away from them. Zhu Ling was very angry with her and asked Kushi why did she come to his school. Kushi handed the guy a package and said that yesterday he praised her cooking, so today she prepared lunch especially for him and brought it to him so that he could taste this delicious dish. Zhu Ling had difficulty eating this food and told Kushi that she had prepared an amazing yummy dish. Kushi replied that she knew that she could cook no worse than the headman. And then the exam results were announced. Zhu Ling saw his name and was very happy about it. He said that it was finally over and he could take part in the school trip. Suddenly, Zhu Ling hugged the headman and thanked her so much. He said that he would simply be lost without her. The headman replied that it was not difficult for her and there was no need to thank her. But unexpectedly, after these spoken words, the head woman simply froze in place. Zhu Ling began to get seriously scared and began to shake her and asked her to wake up and come to her senses. Zhu Ling and her classmates went on a school trip. They arrived at their destination and the teacher asked the students to get off the bus one by one. They arrived in a very beautiful snowy and mountainous area. Zhu Ling thought that they would actually ski, but Zhu Ling felt heavy at heart and wondered what Kushi was doing. Zhu Ling remembered last night. Xiao and Filo sat in front of the guy and told him that he was a scumbag and how he could leave Kushi and go have fun alone. Zhu Ling told the girls that this would be the last time he did this and said that he would not go anywhere again without them. He promised that he would fix everything as soon as he returned. But when Zhu Ling was thinking, his classmate Li Ziyuan suddenly approached him from behind and grabbed him and said that he did not expect Zhu Ling to pass the exam. Li Ziyuan told Zhu Ling that recently there were so many girls around him that he completely forgot about his friend, but Zhu Ling answered him and asked him not to make up any nonsense. But suddenly all the people there gathered around someone and started taking pictures of her. Zhu Ling looked and recognized her. He was shocked by her appearance. Li Ziyuan asked him if he really knew this girl. Zhang Momo was sitting there smiling at everyone. Li Ziyuan asked Zhu Ling to tell him how he met such a cute girl because she seemed to be popular. Zhu Ling asked his friend to come into the room, and his friend replied that he wanted to admire this girl a little more, and suddenly Zhang Momo noticed the guy and looked in his direction. And then the teacher asked all the students to follow her to the bus. Zhu Ling asked his friend to quickly go to the bus but his friend replied that this girl was looking in their direction. They checked into a hotel. Li Ziyuan looked down and told Zhu Ling that this girl had been sitting on the bench below all evening. Li Ziyuan said that despite the darkness and her glasses, he recognized her. Zhu Ling now saw her on the radar, and since she was here, Zhu Ling decided to take this opportunity to smooth out that misunderstanding. He decided to go downstairs to this girl and told his friend that he would be back soon. Zhu Ling approached Zhang Momo and said that he wanted to talk to her. She replied that it was inconvenient to talk here and asked to go somewhere quiet. Zhang Momo led the guy somewhere along the snow-capped mountains where there was an avalanche danger. Zhu Ling asked her if they had gone too far. Well, when she stopped, the guy replied that everything was fine, he didn't mind it. Zhang Momo led him somewhere and stopped. The guy thought that they had finally stopped and asked her what she wanted to tell him. Zhang Momo said that now that he knows who she really is, there is no need to hide it. She asked him what he thought. Was it an accident or fate? Zhu Ling replied that last time they had a slight quarrel and he was very sorry for that. He said he would do everything in his power to fix it. Zhang Momo said that it was very kind of him. She slowly approached him and said that first she would ask him to fulfill her little wish. She asked him to let her end his life. Zhu Ling was shocked by these words, but suddenly the ground beneath them began to shake. Zhu Ling thought that it was really an earthquake, and suddenly after that the ground disappeared from under their feet and they began to fall. Meanwhile, at the hotel, the warden checked that everything was in place, and she was shocked after she heard that Zhu Ling left the room and still hasn't returned. Li Ziyuan said that Zhu Ling did not really explain anything, but he thought that Zhu Ling went to that beautiful girl who participated in the photo shoot and he must still be next to her. Li Ziyuan said that he also wants such a girl. The head woman thought that how could she not notice this, and she thought that it was because of her that Zhu Ling was now in danger. Meanwhile, Zhu Ling slowly began to come to his senses. He opened his eyes and saw Zhang Momo next to him. He thought that she was injured, but then he realized that she was simply unconscious. Zhu Ling stood up and his whole body ached and his head was pounding, but suddenly the guy looked at Zhang Momo in detail and was very surprised by the sight he saw. Zhang Momo had blue blood. Zhu Ling thought that it didn't look very good and he hoped that there were no serious injuries and he would get better very soon. Zhu Ling turned around and realized that they had fallen down. It was too high there and there was no way to climb up. The guy thought that they would have to look for another way out of there, but the first thing he needed to do was make a fire. Zhang Momo lay there and could not move because her body did not obey her, but with one eye slightly opened, she looked at the guy and thought that even if he left her here, sooner or later she would get him. She thought she fell because of this stupid guy. Zhu Ling lit a fire and meanwhile Zhang Momo began to come to her senses. Zhu Ling noticed this and asked the girl if she felt better and asked how she was feeling. She thought that Zhu Ling had left and abandoned her. Zhu Ling said that while he was looking for a way to get out, he accidentally found an old climber's rescue bag, which contained dry coal for a fire and a match, and there he also found a first aid kit. Zhang Momo thanked the guy and told him that he saw them. Zhu Ling was surprised and asked what did he see. Zhang Momo asked him not to play hard to get and said that he already knows who she is. She said that she no longer saw the point in hiding it because the more she did it, the more obvious it became, and suddenly Zhang Momo had strange ears and she said that she was the same as the two girls Xiao and Filo who were next to him. Zhu Ling was surprised and asked if she really was a pet. Zhang Momo said that it was terrible and that this was the first time she showed it to a stranger. Zhu Ling thought that maybe it had something to do with the essence of the dragon. The girl said that because of her appearance she became Zhang Momo. She constantly worked on becoming beautiful, showing her smile in front of the public, and finally she became a female presenter who can stand in front of the screen and shine. She said with tears in her eyes that she did all this because she no longer wanted to see herself in such an ugly form and once and for all wanted to change for the better. Zhu Ling grinned and said that a person he knew once said that what is natural is not ugly, and he added that moreover, she is now cuter than usual. Zhang Momo said that he could still say such disgusting things when he sees her in this state, but in the end she smiled and said that these words are so annoying. Zhang Momo began her story and told the guy that she used to live in the sea world and always looked at the land with blessing. She never wanted to live in one place all her life. She did not see the sun and every day she wandered in the dark and alone. She never had friends and perhaps her ugly appearance was to blame for this. While her relatives gathered in groups, all she could do was silently swim past. And even in the face of danger, she was always alone and wandered in the darkness every day without any understanding of why she needed to live in this strange world. Her only joy was observing the light of the human world. She liked this time of day the most and every day she swam to the shore to take a closer look at it all. But one day a fisherman grabbed her and sold her to a ship that was sailing to the east. Zhu Ling heard this story and thought about a ship sailing to the east because it was exactly the same as Filo's. Zhang Momo looked at the guy and didn't understand his reaction. She asked him why he was looking at her like that. She said he probably thinks she's ugly, that's why he looks at her so intently. But Zhu Ling told her that she was not ugly at all and suddenly took a photo of her. The guy said the photos looked really cute and asked her to let him take 2 more photos. Zhang Momo smiled and said that the guy had good acting and she was impressed, and yet she sparkled with joy and thanked the guy for such support. But suddenly at that moment the fire went out. The girl asked if he had forgotten to throw in some firewood. Zhu Ling replied that he had not forgotten anything, but simply ran out of firewood. Meanwhile, the headman, along with a search group with dogs, were looking for the guy. The people who helped with the search asked the girl if she was sure that they had gone exactly here. The head woman said that they must be here, especially since she saw a ray of light in the distance and it must have been Zhu Ling. She hoped that they would definitely find him and she only asked Zhu Ling to wait for her. Zhu Ling and Zhang Momo were sitting together and the girl said that she came from the depths of the sea and the low temperature was not scary for her and therefore he did not have to give her his clothes. And suddenly the rescuers found this hole and noticed that it looked like someone was there. The head woman looked into this gap and asked if Zhu Ling was there and if he could hear her. Zhang Momo replied that they are here, but she told them that Zhu Ling was cold and urgently needed help. Zhang Momo asked Zhu Ling to hold on and said that he would get help very soon. After this incident, Zhang Momo was driving her car, and the driver asked her if she was okay. He also asked how the boy who was with her that day was doing. Zhang Momo said that Zhu Ling suffered short-term hypothermia and is now in the hospital and his health was not in danger. She thought that she would have to visit him sometime because he was a nice guy. And then Xiao received a call from the hospital at Silver Snowflake Ski Resort. Xiao was shocked by the news and told the others that brother Zhu had been hospitalized. Filo couldn't believe it and hoped that everything was okay with him. Xiao asked what they would do. She said that Christmas was coming and they couldn't leave him alone. But Kushi didn't care. She said that if the guy is alive then everything is fine. And then Filo offered to visit him. Xiao agreed but thought that brother asked them to stay at home and not go out and suddenly Filo had a great idea. Filo said that she would dress up as Santa Claus and bring him a gift. Xiao asked her what she was going to give him, but Filo didn't know what to answer because she hadn't thought about it. But then Kushi said that the guy miraculously survived and asked if this was not a gift of fate. Kushi looked at Xiao and Filo and asked what they were whispering and keeping secret. And then suddenly the nurses told Mr. Zhu Ling that a visitor had come to see him. Zhu Ling was interested because he didn't know who it could be, and when he opened the door he saw that Santa Claus came to him with his magic reindeer. Filo, dressed as Santa, congratulated the guy on Christmas and said that she brought the kind gentleman a Christmas gift. Zhu Ling thought that their disguise was not the best. The guy said he didn't understand what they were talking about. They asked him to take the gift. Zhu Ling thought how big the gift box was. And when Zhu Ling opened the box, he was very surprised, because he saw that Kushi was lying there in a snow maiden costume. Kushi called Filo and Xiao traders and said that she would get to them. After that, Zhu Ling decided to get some sleep, but he had a strange dream involving Zhang Momo. The guy woke up abruptly from this dream and thought that maybe he would dream about something like this. But suddenly Zhu Ling noticed a girl in front of him in a nurse's uniform. She looked somehow strange. She suddenly put her hand into his armpit and took out a thermometer from there and looked at him carefully. After this, the nurse listened to his heartbeat. Zhu Ling asked her if she would examine him, but she didn't answer him. The guy thought that this nurse was somehow strange and thought that she was an intern. Zhu Ling didn't understand what was happening and why she was moving so fast. Suddenly she stood in front of him and opened her mouth. The guy thought she wanted to check his throat. But when the guy opened his mouth, the nurse grabbed him by the throat. Zhu Ling noticed that the trainee nurse did not say a single word. The guy hoped that she understood her business. But this nurse took out a syringe and wanted to give the guy an injection, but Zhu Ling noticed that she was trembling. He wondered if she was giving the injection for the first time. The guy sat and thought that when will this end? 30 minutes had already passed and this nurse could not find his vein. His entire hand was already bruised. He begged for help and asked someone to save him, but this nurse stopped again and was breathing heavily. But suddenly an experienced doctor came into the room and ordered this nurse to stand. The doctor said that this injection should have been given to a patient from the next room. Zhu Ling saw the doctor and finally calmed down. The doctor asked for forgiveness for the concern that this nurse caused him. He said that one is still inexperienced, but she is a quick learner and will soon learn everything. Zhu Ling replied that it was okay because she had not yet had time to give him an injection and asked the doctor to better monitor his employees so that this would not happen again in the future. And suddenly Xiao came into the room. She ran up to the guy and said that they had come to visit him. Zhu Ling replied that he was fine and had a slight cold. The guy asked Xiao where is Kushi. Xiao said that Kushi was walking behind them. But suddenly the guy's pet radar went off and Kushi smelled that very familiar smell of the pet, and suddenly Kexi looked at the nurse and told the guy that she was not a person. And then the headman and Li Ziyuan came to him. The head woman asked the guy how he was feeling and said that they had come to visit him. The headman said that she had agreed about his friends and asked him not to bother him. Zhu Ling thanked the headman for such concern. But suddenly Li Ziyuan asked Zhu Ling if he really decided to start a harem for himself. He said that he would think that his friend would turn out to be a pervert, but Zhu Ling denied all his words and said that they were just friends. The head woman laughed and asked the guys not to overexert themselves. She told Zhu Ling that she hoped that he would recover very soon and be discharged from there. The headman was looking forward to his return. Zhu Ling thanked her and informed her that the doctor said that he could be discharged tomorrow. The head girl was very happy to hear these words and said that he would soon be able to return to class. Finally, the old one said that they would leave him alone and asked him to have a good rest. Zhu Ling thanked her for such concern. The guy realized that there was no need to worry about Kushi, because the headman was a kind and reliable girl. The next day, the four of them went to the ski resort. Filo said that it was very cool there and she felt like she was back home again. She knew they would have a good time here. Zhu Ling told Kushi that he would teach her to ski. She replied that she did not ask him to teach her. She said that she knew how to ride and added that dragons live on the top of the ice mountain. But suddenly the head girl approached the guy and said that she herself would take Kushi skiing, and after all, the doctor forbade him to exert himself, and after that, the head girl greeted Kushi nicely. Zhu Ling asked Kushi what was the matter and said that she was really afraid of skiing. Kushi told him to shut up and not get into a fight and said that dragons can do everything in this life. Meanwhile, the headman taught Kushi to ski. She taught her to keep her balance correctly so as not to fall. They had fun together and went down a variety of slides. At this time, Zhu Ling received a message. He realized that this was great because he was given experience points, and after that the guy looked at how Kushi and the headman were skiing and thought, what Kexi and the elders were really having fun. Zhu Ling thought that it seemed that Kushi, not only externally but also internally, was still a child. He didn't expect them to get along so well. Meanwhile, Zhu Ling and Li Ziyuan went to the hot spring. Li Ziyuan said that he was so tired and that his whole body hurt because he had to play with these two girls. The girls were also sitting in the hot spring and the head girl asked Kushi what she thought about the temperature of the water. Kushi replied that everything was fine and the water was excellent, but Kushi said that she wanted to ask her a question in return. Kushi asked the headman why she always helped Zhu Ling. The headman said that people are always looking for some purpose in this life. She said that Zhu Ling had always been her life and she soon discovered that she couldn't just leave him. The head girl said that in this way it became her life goal to make sure that Zhu Ling was okay. Kushi asked if she also felt something similar, but the head girl replied that she didn't feel anything. And then Li Ziyuan came to them. He asked how long they were going to sit there and did not invite them to dinner. He added that if they did not immediately join them, they would start the meal without them. But suddenly Kushi noticed some scars on the headman's back. Kushi thought that these were claw marks and suddenly she immediately felt very dizzy from such thoughts. And suddenly the elder stood in front of the dragon, face to face. The dragon asked her if she really thought that she could take away her dragon essence. The headman replied that the master's order was law for her. And suddenly after that Kexi woke up and realized that it was a dream, and then Zhu Ling approached her and asked her to drink some water. The guy asked Kushi why she had been having nightmares since she fainted in the hot spring. Zhu Ling asked her if she remembered something. She replied that she didn't remember anything except that you shouldn't look at people from above. The guy asked her to sleep and said that if anything happened, she could call him and he would be next to her. Zhu Ling also went to bed because he had to go to school tomorrow. Kushi lay there and thought that she needed to quickly resolve the issue with this girl and the essence of the dragon and she needed to quickly figure it all out. And then morning came and Kushi woke up Zhu Ling. He said that he was completely out of the habit of getting up so early. Kushi said that it was not yet dawn and someone was already moving something downstairs. Zhu Ling said that it looks like they will have a new neighbor. Zhu Ling got ready to go to school and asked Kushi to look after the house, but suddenly he discovered that there were a lot of boxes lying next to his apartment. Zhu Ling thought that the new neighbor would really live in the next apartment. Zhu Ling came to school. He sat and thought that at the moment he needed to focus all his attention on the final exam, because in a few days they were supposed to have a test. Zhu Ling looked at Zhang Momo's card and thought it was so cute. The guy thought that she was cute even in human form, but in the form of a pet she was simply magnificent and unique. And then the teacher asked all the students to pay attention to her and said that she had important news. She said that today they could welcome a new biology teacher and part-time nurse to their infirmary. The teacher introduced her and said that this was their new teacher, gray. Zhu Ling recognized her and looked at her in bewilderment. All his classmates thought that the new teacher was so beautiful that they wanted to get injured so they could go to the infirmary with her. But then Li Ziyuan remembered that wasn't this the nurse who was looking after Zhu Ling. He thought and did not understand how she ended up here and what she needed. The teacher asked them to obey Teacher Gray from now on. And then Zhu Ling noticed that all his classmates had gathered in the infirmary. He thought that it seems that these idiots don't know how poorly she understands her business and doesn't know how to do anything at all. And then he noticed his friend in this crowd. He looked at his friend and was ashamed of him. Zhu Ling thought that his locator was not lying, but it was impossible to go there now because he did not know how to behave there. Zhu Ling finally calmed down and came home, but suddenly he noticed that someone was breaking into his door. He thought it was a thief and he urgently needed to stop this, but the scoundrel. But when the guy came closer to the burglar, he was very surprised and speechless because the same Nurse Gray was standing there. Zhu Ling asked her what she was doing here. After that they all gathered in one room. Xiao said that since they were celebrating this new year together, she suggested that everyone play a game called Pets. Kushi asked what it was. Xiao said that this is a card game based on Western fantasy. Xiao said that it would be fun and got up to tell everyone about the rules of the game. She said that the players are divided into townspeople, soldiers, generals, priests of dogs and mystical animals. Xiao said that everyone should get their own role and share their responsibilities. She said that the dog's task is to find the beast. She said that the soldiers must protect the townspeople until the beast is found, and the general was the only character who was able to put an end to this beast. She said that the priestess could resurrect soldiers and also the beast, and the task of the taker was that he had to finish off all the townspeople and the other players had to finish off the beast in order to defeat him. Kushi said that it sounded very interesting and asked everyone to play this game. Xiao said that if they all understood the rules, then they will distribute the roles between all the players. Zhang Momo said that she turned out to be a commoner. She asked, "Is there really no queen card in this game to replace your card?" She thought she had really turned into a city girl, but she had some pretty cute clothes. This nurse got the role of a priestess, and Xiao and Filo became soldiers, and Kushi, in turn, turned into a general. Kushi really liked this role. And Zhu Ling got the role of a dog. Everyone laughed and asked if he really turned into a dog. Zhu Ling thought why exactly he came across this dog card. Suddenly they noticed that Elder Zheng was depressed. Xiao approached her and asked what happened to her. She asked Xiao not to look at her and said that it seemed like karma because she got the role of a monster. After the game, Zhu Ling took this nurse to her apartment. The guy asked if she really moved into a neighboring apartment and said that if she needed help, she could safely contact him. She didn't answer him and he thought, why is she always silent? Kushi approached the guy and said that this woman was a pet and their goal. She told the guy that he knew it himself. Kushi didn't know what kind of animal this was and she was interested in finding out herself. When Zhu Ling went to bed, Kushi was not sleeping at that time and was thinking about what she should do to quickly return her charm, and she came up with a great plan. Kushi thought that the woman was already asleep and couldn't think of a better moment. Kushi thought that instead of pinning her hopes on people, she should do everything herself and began to climb onto this woman's balcony. Kushi was convinced that this woman was sleeping and suddenly she saw small green bottles on the nightstand. She thought that this was some kind of medicine. Kushi thought, why did she need this medicine? But suddenly this woman woke up and drank the contents of this bottle, but suddenly after that she coughed up blood. Kushi was very frightened by the sight she saw. Like suddenly this girl turned around and looked at Kushi. Kushi covered her mouth with her hands so that the woman would not hear her. She wondered if this strange woman had noticed her. Kushi thought that maybe she had gone to bed again, and when she looked at her apartment again, at that very second this woman appeared right in front of her and looked Kushi straight in the eyes. Kushi got scared and wondered why this girl couldn't sleep, and she successfully began to climb over the balcony, but suddenly she tripped and fell down. Kushi thought that if she had strength, she wouldn't be tired of being such a loser. But suddenly this woman grabbed Kushi's hand and at the last moment saved her from the inevitable end. Kushi calmed down and exhaled. And after that, Kexi went into the house and covered herself with a blanket. She thought it was a disgrace because the proud dragon was saved by his sacrifice. She asked why she was surrounded by only eccentrics. Zhu Ling stood next to her and said that he could hear everything. After that, Zhu Ling sat on the sofa and asked the girls why they were going on holidays at his house. Zhang Momo replied to the guy and said that wasn't he the one who wrote the message to her, and besides, she didn't want to spend the weekend alone and that's why she came to him. Xiao said that she also received a message from brother Zhu and asked if he had forgotten about it. Zhu Ling didn't remember anything because it was actually Kushi who sent the message. Kushi looked at the guy and thought that she should use this opportunity to find evidence. Filo suggested playing a pet game, but Xiao replied that she did not bring this game today, and then Zhang Momo suggested playing a game called the Royal Game. She heard that it was a very fun and exciting game. Xiao was surprised and asked, "Isn't this a game for adults?" Xiao asked to start the game and Zhang Momo replied that she also did not know how to play this game. Zhu Ling asked what then how were they going to play this game. Meanwhile, Kushi sat with a notepad in her hands and thought that she needed to find clues in the search for the dragon entity, but suddenly Zhu Ling asked her why she needed a notebook. She replied that she was just writing down the rules of the game. Zhu Ling thought that Kushi was acting very strange today and thought that it might be because they gathered for the first time after that incident on the balcony. Zhu Ling said that he himself would explain to them the rules of this game. He showed 5 cards and said that each card has its own number. He said that there is also a 6th card called the Joker and whoever takes this card can order 2 of the 5 participants to do anything. There were 5 players and Zhu Ling said that 1 card was dealt per person and 1 card would remain in the pile, and if no one draws a Joker, then the cards will be shuffled again and dealt again, but the player who got the Joker had to reveal his identity. Zhu Ling asked everyone to start the game. He said that all cards except the Joker cannot be shown to other players, cause she thought she could use the Joker to find clues. And then Zhu Ling said that if everyone looked at their cards and asked the Joker to show himself, and the Joker this time was Xiao. The guy asked the Joker to come up with a task for them. Xiao took out a t-shirt and ordered number 4 to put it on number 1, number 4 was Zhu Ling and number 1 was Filo. And then Zhang Momo was upset that her dear was changing the girl's clothes in the next room. Xiao asked Zhang Momo what was wrong with her. And Kushi thought what interesting rules there are in this game. Zhu Ling changed his clothes, Filo and they sat down and decided to identify a new Joker. They were all wondering who would get the Joker this time, and this time the Joker went to Kushi and she thought about her order. And then Kushi said that let number 3 was Zhu Ling and number 2 was Zhang Momo, help her go to school, this was her wish. Zhu Ling told Kushi that going to school is not that much fun, but Kushi didn't care and said that the king's order had to be carried out. Xiao thought that Kushi wanted to go to school because she was always alone in the house. But then Zhu Ling said that everything is not so simple. After all, in addition to paying for tuition, Kushi did not have any documents confirming her identity, and the guy asked how could he carry out such an order. Zhu Ling said that he was very sorry. Xiao said that this means that Sister Kushi will not be able to go to school. The guy asked Kushi to change his wish because he couldn't remember her order even with all his desire. But unexpectedly, Zhang Momo called someone and asked them to place Kushi in the middle school. They asked Zhang Momo to wait for a few days. She agreed and hung up. Zhang Momo said that fortunately everything worked out. The guy asked Zhang Momo what was it. And she replied that she got Kexi into school. Kushi was very happy to hear these words and hugged Zhang Momo and thanked her for everything. Kushi asked her not to think about it the wrong way and said that it was just a gesture of gratitude. Zhang Momo smiled and asked that it looks like Kushi has finally accepted her. Xiao said that then Sister Kushi should try on the uniform she brought her, but Zhang Momo replied that Kushi would have her own school uniform. Xiao was surprised and asked where. Zhang Momo said it's a secret. And then suddenly a courier arrived and left a parcel. Zhang Momo accepted the parcel and said that now, according to forged documents, Kushi was a resident of New Zealand. And then Zhang Momo told everyone that they had been waiting for so long and now their king had arrived and told Kushi to show everyone her new clothes, and suddenly Kexi appeared in front of them in a chic outfit. She was a cutie in that outfit. Zhang Momo said that her classmates would be delighted with her, and then Zhu Ling said that if everything is in order with his documents and also has a uniform, then she can go to school, and at that moment Kushi hugged the guy and said that she had been waiting for this for so long. The next morning, Zhu Ling, Zhang Momo and Kushi came to school. The school director asked me to give her everything she liked. You said that she herself would introduce her to her classmates. Zhang Momo and Zhu Ling watched Kushi like parents. The principal told all the students that there was a new student in their class today and asked everyone to welcome her. She said that she hopes that Kushi will make friends with everyone. She introduced herself in front of the whole class and said that her name was Kushi. Zhu Ling looked at all this and thought that in this state she could not be seen often because she was so happy. But Zhu Ling began to leave from there. Zhang Momo asked if he was no longer interested. The guy replied that now that Kushi was accepted there was more and we had nothing to do here. Zhang Momo looked at the guy with interest and thought that he must become a good father in the future because he was a very caring and kind person. But suddenly one guy began to rid Kushi. He asked how dare she scratch his face. He said that this time she raised her hand to the wrong person, and after the beating, he said that he wanted her to remember this lesson. Zhu Ling was actually thinking about all of this. He quickly ran towards her. He blamed you for everything and said that he was an idiot after all. Kushi is not yet accustomed to the new environment and how could he leave her alone. Zhu Ling quickly ran to her room and, opening the door, noticed that Kushi was having a very good time and eating burgers with her classmates. Convinced with his own eyes that everything was fine, Zhu Ling finally calmed down. The lessons were over and Kushi and her boyfriend were getting ready to go home. Kushi asked the guy to cook her pork chops and she said that she was very hungry. Zhu Ling got angry and said that she wasn't the one who sat and devoured burgers on both cheeks all day long. Kexi said she just wanted him to cook her pork chops the way she liked them. Kushi was in a great mood and told the guy that going to school with him was so great. Meanwhile, when they arrived home, Kexi began stroking her brand new uniform. She admired her form and thought how beautiful she was, and then Zhu Ling told her that she didn't understand the difference between beautiful and cute. Kushi thought that now she was going to school with Zhu Ling and thus she was one step closer in finding the essence of the dragon. She was standing on the table and the guy asked her to get down from there. All of Kushi's classmates surrounded her on all sides and told her that she was very cute. They told her that her hair was so white and silky, and besides, she had amber eyes. Kex's math lesson began and the teacher was thinking about who would be the first to call to the blackboard. The teacher pointed his finger at the new girl and said that they would now test her knowledge and ordered her to go to the board. Kushi didn't understand at all what these symbols meant. Her classmates said that poor Kushi was unlucky because the teacher, nicknamed Iron Face, would not have left her so easily. And suddenly Kexi told the teacher that she didn't understand anything, and she told him that whoever came up with this question specifically wanted to make it so boring so that the students would fall asleep during these classes. The teacher was furious at this answer. He thought that there really were such innocent students left in this world. This is the first time you've seen anything like this. He felt that his heart was on fire and he wanted to teach her everything. And after that, the teacher came up to the board and began to explain everything to Kushi. He explained that in this way she could find the area of the triangle. He asked her not to be discouraged and said that swimming in the ocean of mathematics is wonderful and that very soon she will learn everything. And after mathematics they began physical education. The teacher ordered all the students to gather. He said that today they have mixed starts, as at the beginning of the school year, and that boys and girls will run 100 meters. Kushi thought that girls should give their all to run 100 meters, and boys would take it lightly, and then her classmates said that every boy there are girls running together, but usually the girls always lost to the boys. And then one of the guys said that he wanted to run first. This guy was the fastest in the class and no one could overtake him, and of the girls, only Kushi volunteered, and then the two of them took a position and prepared to run. And then the teacher gave the command to run. The guy ran forward very quickly, but when he turned around, he noticed that Kushi was standing still. He's still with you, why hasn't she started running yet, and thought that she didn't hear the whistle. But then Kushi said that she had not hunted for a long time and missed this feeling, and then she told the guy that he was her prey and that he would not leave her anywhere and began to chase him. The guy looked around and dad and husband too. What the hell is this? He didn't understand why she suddenly ran so fast. And the guy didn't understand why he felt thirst for blood. He turned around and was very scared because she was running in the wrong lane and was chasing him. Kexi suddenly laughed loudly and said what a stubborn prey she had today. She said it would be fun. The guy ran with all his might and asked the teacher for help, and his classmates said that they would go get the nurse. Zhu Ling went out into the yard after school. He wondered if Kexi's lessons were over, and then suddenly Kexi ran up to him and covered his mouth with her hand. She asked the guy not to make a single sound and asked him to look there. And then the guy noticed that the same nurse was standing there and crying. The guy thought what happened to her. Zhu Ling asked Kushi to follow her and find out what was really going on. They were watching this woman and suddenly she made some kind of green bottle and poured the contents of this bottle into her throat, Kushi closely watched this whole action. And then suddenly something in her throat began to glow. Kushi looked at all this and was shocked, and then Kushi thought that maybe this is the essence of a dragon. After these events, they returned home and Zhu Ling asked Kushi if what she saw was the essence of a dragon. She replied that it felt much smaller and oddly shaped. But suddenly the guy suggested that in this case there was a possibility that it was a fragment of it. Kushi asked that her essence was really broken and asked where the rest of the fragments were. The guy replied that judging by the game, you get that there are at least 4 fragments. Kushi thought about how her essence broke so easily and wondered how she could find them now. All of a sudden the guy took her by the shoulder and asked her to carefully examine her body. Zhu Ling told her not to think anything wrong, and he said that he was just wondering if she had anything special there, and he said that he was doing all this just to find her essence. The guy asked her to open her mouth and said that he would just see if she had anything strange and glowing there. Zhu Ling examined her throat in detail but unfortunately did not notice anything there. And then Kexi saw a shop where they sold ice cream. She said why don't they buy some ice cream and at the same time put their thoughts in order. The guy approached the saleswoman and asked her to give them 2 branded horns. The saleswoman asked how they would pay, and at that moment, Zhu Ling suddenly looked at this saleswoman and you were amazed by her appearance. The saleswoman gave them ice cream and thanked her for their purchase and asked them to come again. Zhu Ling thanked her, and for some reason his soul was somehow restless. After that they returned home, and Kushi asked the guy that if it seemed to him that this girl could also be a pet, then why didn't he tell her about it before? Zhu Ling said that he just saw that her pupils were emitting the same light as Gray's and asked Kushi if she really didn't smell anything. She replied that it seemed like the smell of ice cream had overwhelmed everything and that's why she couldn't smell the pet's presence, but she said that in any case they will go there tomorrow and find out everything. The man greeted this saleswoman whose name was Ling Xuan. He told her that today she came somehow early. Ling Xuan also greeted the man. She worked part-time as a loader. The man told her that this was a man's job and besides, she was a student. He was embarrassed that she had to work at night. Ling Xuan replied that it did not matter and that she could earn money here and thanked the man for his work. The next day, Zhu Ling and Kushi arrived at that ice cream shop. The man said that this girl usually came to him on Tuesdays for part-time work, and he asked if they were her classmates because their school uniform was the same as hers. The guy was surprised that this girl really wore the same uniform as theirs. The guy thought that she was really from the same school as them. Finally, they thanked the man for this information. Zhu Ling stood and thought that it wasn't enough for him to have a problem with Gray, but a new one had appeared, and then his friend said that if he chases 2 hares, he won't catch either. Li Ziyuan asked if 1 nurse was not enough for him and he wanted to pick up someone else. But Zhu Ling told his friend to speak more quietly. Zhu Ling wanted his friend to find a girl with dark skin and yellow eyes. He told him that she was studying at their school. Li Ziyuan replied that if he trusted his abilities so much, he would help him today. He showed one person's account on his phone and said that this was his secret informant and said that with his help he could find anything. Li Ziyuan said that he would now send his informant all the information and description of the girl and he would immediately find her. The informant immediately answered him and said that he knew only one such girl that fit this description. Zhu Ling learned that this girl's name was Ling Xuan and that she was truly a unique girl. The informant said that this girl goes to the courier box in the backyard of the school every week and picks something up from there. Meanwhile, Zhu Ling and Kushi hid and waited for this girl to arrive. Kushi asked the guy if he was sure that she would come there. He replied that he was not sure about this but there were no other options. And then suddenly Kexi said that a new smell was approaching, and at that moment, Zhu Ling noticed that someone was approaching the courier box. He looked carefully and realized that this was the same girl. The girl took something from there and began to leave. The guy told Kexi to follow her. They followed her and did not know where she was going, home or to work, but suddenly she walked into some alley. But suddenly, Ling Xuan's path was blocked by a man. He told her that she never gave them half the money she borrowed from them. Ling Xuan told him that she had returned everything a long time ago, but the man said that the amount only covered the interest and so she still had to pay them money. The girl said that last time she made it clear to them not to pursue her anymore. But suddenly a man from this gang wanted to attack her and said that she would pay for what she did to him last time. but suddenly she turned around and grabbed his hand. She squeezed his hand so hard that he screamed in pain. And this man distracted Ling Shuang by showing her her package. He said that now without a doubt they can talk about the terms of the refund. And then suddenly one of his thugs grabbed Ling Shuang from behind and covered her mouth. Then the man told the girl that if she doesn't have money, he will send her to work for his brother. But then Kushi suddenly appeared out of nowhere and told this man not to dare touch her essence. Kushi saved this girl and began to strangle this scoundrel. And Zhu Ling noticed that the same package was lying on the ground. He thought this was a good moment to intercept him from them. The guy took the package and told Kushi that he had it. Meanwhile, Ling Shuang got out and killed the two bandits, and Kushi was sitting on their leader. He asked Kushi for forgiveness and said that they just wanted to ask her for directions. Zhu Ling told the man that he would let him go, but he only asked the bandit to give them a promise that he would no longer bother this girl. The man replied that he would never dare to approach her again. After that, Zhu Ling returned the package to Ling Shuang and asked her what class she was in. She replied that she shouldn't say that and asked them to stay away from her. Kushi wanted to express everything to this girl's face, but Zhu Ling stopped her and told her to leave and said that they would still have time to talk with this girl. When they returned home, Kexi told the guy that it was because of him that they missed her. Zhu Ling replied that you can't just take the strength to tame a pet. He said that we need to act more subtly and delicately. Kushi asked Zhu Ling what can they do then. And the guy replied that since they can't use brute force, that means they just have to think carefully. Zhu Ling thought that firstly, she very rarely appeared at school and she had to work a lot. She already did not have enough money. She was a pet but she needed money so badly and it seemed a little strange. The guy said that he looked into her package and saw pills there that were not the same as Gray's, but slightly different ones with a pharmaceutical label. He said that it looks like this is an imported drug for the growth of bones and tissues. Vitya saw with her own eyes how strong and fast she is. But Kushi realized that she really did have amazing power, but she didn't understand why she needed these medications. Zhu Ling thought and said that there is one answer to this question and said that she does not live alone. Ling Shuang lived with her aunt. She began to get ready to go outside and said goodbye to her aunt, but the aunt asked her to wait and said that she had a conversation with her. The aunt told the girl that she had been too busy with school lately and that's why she didn't want to bother her and said that she had problems with rent again this month. Ling Shuang worked part-time as a dishwasher and when she finished her work, a woman came to her and told Ling Shuang that the boss asked her to come into the office. The boss settled with the girl. And then he told Ling Shuang that he had one thing that he would like to discuss with her. The boss said that recently their business had been in decline and warned the girl that in the future her salary could be halved. Ling Shuang replied that everything was fine. She just thanked the man for agreeing to hire her and she promised that in the future she would work even harder. Ling Shuang thought that if this continued, she would never have time to pay the rent because she absolutely did not have enough money from all sorts of part-time jobs. But suddenly a courier on a scooter stopped in front of her. She asked the guy how much he earns working as a courier. He said that in order to start working you need to buy a scooter yourself. The courier said that the scooter would cost a little more than 2,000, and the girl thought it was very expensive. She thanked the guy and thought that it looked like she could only earn money by doing odd jobs. Ling Shuang decided that she should choose one thing, but then she had to take a day off from her other job. Zhu Ling and Kushi watched all this. The guy told Kushi that they would act according to plan. Meanwhile, Ling Shuang was cleaning the factory. The boss came to her and asked her to take a break and drink water. The girl asked if she could come here tomorrow. The boss said that they clean here once a month and no work will be needed tomorrow. And after that she went to work on the night shift as a waitress in a bar. She finished her shift and was slowly returning home, but suddenly she received a message on her phone that someone had transferred money for yesterday's shift. After this, in the morning at school, Li Ziyuan approached Zhu Ling and said that he had managed to obtain new information regarding this girl. He said that it seemed like Lin Shuang couldn't pay her rent and didn't have a regular job. Meanwhile, Ling Shuang received a call from her work and said that they no longer needed her manpower. The girls were sad that there were too few part-time vacancies now. She thought that how could she pay the rent now? She sat on the bench and thought that she never thanked those people who helped her yesterday because she didn't think about leaving so much worry to strangers. Meanwhile, Zhu Ling quietly watched her. And suddenly Zhu Ling approached Ling Shuang and said that the game itself on the next street was holding a number of events, and after these words he gave her an advertising brochure. The guy said that she could look at available vacancies when she has time, and after these words, Zhu Ling quickly ran away from there. The girl didn't have time to answer him. Zhu Ling approached Kushi and said that they would also go to this club. Meanwhile, Ling Shuang found this place. She saw this building and thought that the salary seemed to be low. She went there and was met by a man. The man asked her if she wanted to play games or get a part-time job. She replied that she came there about work. And then suddenly Zhu Ling and Kushi came there and they told the man that they also wanted to get this job. The man was surprised because he did not expect that there would be so many interested people in this work. He said that they arrived almost at the same time and asked them if they were friends. The man said that if they read the ad, then there is no need to explain anything to them and they can change clothes and get to work. Everyone unanimously agreed with the man. Their job was to hand out leaflets to encourage people to play in slot machines. They had a promotion where you could buy 10 tokens and get as many more for free. Ling Shuang was nervous because most people were either just taking pictures with them or passing by, and few actually came in to play. Her earnings depended on interest and she thought that she would not be able to pay the rent. Zhu Ling noticed the girl's concern and had a great idea. The guy borrowed a felt-tip pen from his boss and started drawing something on the billboard. He underlined this promotion in large and bold letters and circled it with a felt-tip pen so that other people would notice this advertisement. Zhu Ling told the girl that he would prepare everything for now and asked the girls to invite them to visit as many as possible. Kushi agreed with the guy and said that her goal for today is to drag 100 people there. Ling Shuang thought that if they were so serious, she couldn't stay away, and suddenly she announced that her goal was to invite 300 people today. Ling Shuang approached people and said that their club was hosting a Street Fighter competition, and asked them if they wanted to try to win a cash prize. All the people looking at this game remembered their father when they were young guys and played this game every day and skipped school. They were wondering where they got such old machines. The man approached Ling Shuang and asked her for 50 yuan worth of tokens. Ling Shuang said to the dishes that this person wants to buy tokens. The boss was glad that a lot of people went there. A lot of people gathered in front of Ling Shuang and wanted to buy tokens. Zhu Ling looked at all this and was very happy because he did not expect that there would be so many people today. Zhu Ling thought that the warm-up was over and it was time for him to start the game, and then a man approached him and asked if he was the main player who needed to be beaten. And after these words they started the game. To win 100 yuan, you had to defeat Zhu Ling in 3 rounds of 1 match. The man said that he really missed this music from the game. All the people were watching them play. Ling Shuang looked at this and thought that the customers were full of enthusiasm and also the atmosphere in this hall had changed for the better. She was proud of Zhu Ling because she didn't know that he could come up with such a thing. Lin Shuang didn't expect that she would be so tired, and then a guy came up to her and asked if they had any free seats. She replied that all the places were taken because many decided to hone their skills to win the competition. And then the boss approached Ling Shuang and said that Zhu Ling was very strong and he did not expect that he would use this method of attracting clients. The boss said that thanks to the guy his unpromising club enjoys such a stir. The boss added that it was a sneaky move to allow other people to think that their victory was already close. He said that these naive people did not understand that he deliberately gave in to them, giving them false hopes so that he could later emerge victorious. All the onlookers looked at his game and thought that they had a chance to win a prize, but they all ended up falling into a cunningly laid trap. Zhu Ling was not just a gamer, he was a gaming super machine. But then an old man approached Zhu Ling. Zhu Ling thought that this man looked so weak and he thought that he was an ordinary weakling with no teeth and muscles, but however, inside him he felt some mysterious force. This grandfather was very strong and the people watching thought that he could really break the winning streak of this undefeated champion, but in the end, Zhu Ling managed to beat him with difficulty. Zhu Ling told Lin Shuang that this grandfather wanted to buy 5 more tokens. She said that she would immediately bring him more and ran to get the tokens. The working day was finally over and they received their well-deserved substantial fee. Zhu Ling asked the boss if they had really earned that much. The boss said everything was fine and they deserved the money. Zhu Ling realized that it was already quite late and he was wondering if they would catch the last bus. He wondered if this would really happen every time now. And then suddenly Lin Shuang turned to Zhu Ling and she said that she didn't know why he had been helping her all this time, but nevertheless she thanked him for his kindness. And suddenly the guy asked Lin Shuang where Kushi was, and Kushi was sitting on the other side of the street. She thought that she was just one person short of 100, she was ashamed to return to her friends with such a result. The next day, Zhu Ling came to school. He noticed all his classmates had gathered together and were discussing something. The guy wondered what kind of meeting was taking place at his desk in the morning. And when he came closer, he noticed that there was a cake on his desk. Zhu Ling thought that who could have sent this to him. He thought that Ling Shuang had already thanked him and she didn't look like the kind of person who would give him cake. The head woman approached the guy and said that this cake was prepared very carefully. Zhu Ling asked her if she did it, but the headman replied that it wasn't her and she had no idea that he did it. The head woman got angry and said that he could eat it if he wanted. Zhu Ling said that he wanted to treat her and did not understand why she was angry with him. He thought that he couldn't throw away such a delicious thing. Zhu Ling ate all the cake, it was very tasty, and suddenly at that moment Li Ziyuan came into the classroom and told Zhu Ling that someone was looking for him. Zhu Ling wondered who it could be. Zhu Ling went outside and noticed Zhang Momo standing there. The guy asked her why she came to school today because he thought something had happened. Zhang Momo replied that she just came to visit him. Zhang Momo smiled and said that she came there to give him a lunch made with love. She said that she tried very hard preparing all these dishes. Zhu Ling noticed that there was only seafood and it looked strange. The girl replied that she knew almost nothing about land dishes, so she brought him such lunch. Zhang Momo said that she herself wanted to feed him and asked the guy to open his mouth, but suddenly she grabbed the guy by his tie. She asked the guy where the crumbs from the cake came from around his lips because he simply reeked of a feminine smell. Zhu Ling replied that he really didn't know who sent him the cake, and at that moment the headman passed next to him. Zhu Ling immediately asked her if she needed help, but she refused help. Zhang Momo laughed and told the guy that it seemed like he no longer had any excuses left and asked him how he would now get out of this situation. Zhu Ling walked into the classroom and sat down in his seat. His classmates were talking among themselves and saying that they had heard that he was dating two girls at once. Zhu Ling sat with a slap in the face and thought, why did he do all this? Zhu Ling walked out into the corridor and noticed Ling Shuang standing there. Suddenly she handed him a piece of paper. The guy thought it was her phone number. Zhu Ling thought that it turned out that she had not forgotten that he asked her to leave contact information. And then Kushi approached the guy and asked why he smelled like strawberry cake, and then suddenly a message from Xiao came to his phone. She said that she gave the cake and asked to give it to Kushi because she didn't know what class she was in. Meanwhile, Ling Shuang was quickly returning home and thought that it was finally Friday and she should come home early and hang out with Ling Xing. Ling Shuang quickly got home and told little Xing that she was home and asked what she wanted to eat for lunch today, but suddenly entering the room she found no one there. At this time, Zhu Ling left a note for Kushi. He told her that he had gone to a friend's house to help him complete one game and wrote that he would return home only tomorrow morning. Kexi read the note and thought that she could cope without him. She remembered that she could use the money she earned to buy a lot of food. Kushi bought a lot of food and all sorts of sweets. She thought that now she would go home and do nothing all day and watch cartoons. But suddenly a strange girl appeared in front of her. Kushi asked her if she wanted to eat and gave her a taste of her food. She really liked this food, and Kexi asked if she wanted to go with her for cola and snacks. The strange girl nodded her head happily. At this time, Zhu Ling was sitting playing a game with her friend, but he was wondering what Kushi was doing there in his absence. And at this time Kushi was having a great time with her new friend. They ate too much and both sat on the sofa and rested after a hearty meal. And then Kushi asked the girl what her name was. The girl said that her name was Lin Xing, but she could call her little Xing. Lin Xing asked Aunt Whitehair what her name was. She replied that her name was Kushi. Kexi asked the girl if she would have a chilled cola. Little Xing replied that this soda was super cool. Kushi said that then they will feast today. Meanwhile, Ling Shuang looked everywhere for little Ling Xing but could not find her. She wondered where the little one could have run away. Meanwhile, Lin Xing was having a blast together with Kushi. They drank soda and ate everything. Kexi said that human food is the most delicious thing in this world. The next day in the morning, Zhu Ling came home and told Kushi that he bought her favorite children's chicken for breakfast. Well, when he entered the room, he was shocked by the sight he saw. Kushi and Lin Xing were sleeping on the floor in a pile of garbage after yesterday's party. Zhu Ling looked at Xing Ling and did not understand what kind of child this was and where she came from. Xing Ling lay down on the guy and said that she also wanted 2 glasses of cola. Zhu Ling asked Kushi that she brought this girl home. He said that for some reason he had never heard her mention this friend before. Kushi said that she shot her in the city center near a snack store. Kushi said that this little girl's name is Lin Xing and they became very good friends with each other when he was not there, and added that she is a very cool girl. Zhu Ling asked Kushi if her parents weren't with her when she met her. Zhu Ling asked Kushi to become more responsible and said that it was she who brought this girl to the house. Kushi approached the guy and said that they were hungry and asked him to cook something for them. Zhu Ling replied that she had just eaten all the rice crackers and how could she be hungry. Zhu Ling said that there were some shrimp left in the refrigerator and he decided that they would make seafood curry. Xing Ling sat on his neck and said that she would help him. But then the guy realized that this girl was really very light. He felt nothing even though she sat with her whole body on his shoulders. She was so light that she could be compared to a feather. They selected all the necessary ingredients and began preparing the curry. Zhu Ling asked Ling Xing to be more careful in adding seasonings. They made a great dish. Lunch was ready and they all sat down and began to taste the food. Xing Ling said that it was very tasty and Kushi was ready to eat this yummy for ages. Night fell and everyone went to bed, but Zhu Ling could not sleep and thought about what happened to this child. He couldn't understand why she stroked his head and didn't let him go. That night turned out to be sleepless for him, and in the morning Zhu Ling came to school and saw Lin Xuang there. He greeted her with suddenly she grabbed him and asked him to look out for her. Where is Ling Xing? Zhu Ling asked her who this Ling Xing was because he didn't know her, and then Ling Xuang took out a yellow hair from his head and asked him to explain it to her. And then Ling Xuang told the guy that she would have to improve the situation a little and she said that she would scratch him, and then Zhu Ling replied that he would immediately take her to her. They walked to his house and Zhu Ling realized that after a misunderstanding that lasted half a day, he finally realized that it turns out that Lin Xing's name is actually Lil Xing. Ling Xuang entered the house and immediately asked Lil Xing how she ended up there and said that she was very worried about her and had been looking for her all day. Lil Xing stood all red and Ling Xuang thought that she had been wounded. She looked at the guy and told him that there was only one explanation for why Lil Xin was in such a state. The entire bathroom was red, and then Lil Xin said that she used Zhu Ling's ink to make her red because it was much more beautiful that way. Ling Xuang asked the guy to use his bathroom. The guy agreed and the girl began to carefully bathe Lil Xin. Lil Xin was very happy that she was with her. Zhu Ling told the girls that the food was ready and asked them to join him. Lil Xin asked the guy if they would wait for Kushi. And then Kushi came home and saw them and asked what they were doing there. Zhu Ling said that they are now friends. They all had a nice meal together and Zhu Ling walked the girls to the door. Kushi asked the guy that he did all this in order to find a clue. The guy replied that this dinner gave them a lot of clues and said that today the meal was special and he really liked everything. Zhu Ling said that today he prepared many different dishes, and then he noticed that Ling Xuang ate mostly meat and entrails and only tried vegetables once. On the contrary, Ling Xing ate anything, but mostly preferred vegetables and grains. Kushi said that there are many animals that eat such food. Zhu Ling said that animals that love meat and entrails also walk on their paws and use claws were very rare animals. And animals that had a light body and that loved and preferred mainly grains and vegetables were even less common. Zhu Ling, looking at their eating habits and also due to their behavior and meat eating, could say that Ling Xuang could be from the cat family. And Ling Xing was an omnivore and therefore it was difficult to narrow down the circle, but given her weightlessness, Zhu Ling assumed that she was some kind of bird. The next day Kexi went to school. She sat and thought that after so much effort, they still didn't know what kind of pets they were, let alone how to collect them, but suddenly she felt heaviness in her body and lost consciousness. Zhu Ling immediately went to her and woke her up. He said that he had been looking for her all day and asked her why she slept there because classes had ended long ago and asked her to go home. Kushi could barely stand on her feet and Zhu Ling carried her on his shoulders. Kushi thought why did she feel so strange, she couldn't control herself and bit the guy on the neck. They returned home and Zhu Ling told her that she was so hungry that she mistook it for a chicken wing. Zhu Ling could not even think that dragons have a hunting period when they are hungrier than usual. After the meal, they went to bed and suddenly Kushi stood in front of Zhu Ling and thought that this was her prey and looked at the guy as if she wanted to devour him. Julia grew wings and a tail with me, she took on the form of a dragon. The guy had the feeling that Kushi was no longer reacting to his words. And after some time the morning came. Kushi couldn't understand why her whole body hurt so much. She looked at the room and did not find Zhu Ling there. She wondered where he could have gone. And then Zhu Ling entered the room. He covered his entire mouth with plaster. Kushi asked him what happened, and the guy replied that he just burned himself with coffee. He said he would take off the patches when she went to school. Kushi sat and ate food. She said that she was simply dying of hunger. The guy replied that lately she has often been dying of hunger. He thought it looked like she didn't remember anything from last night. Zhu Ling remembered that Kushi bit his lips last night, but he was not taken aback and threw her a ham, and then he realized that it seemed that all she needed was food. Zhu Ling came to school and thought that he would calm down there, but suddenly at this moment, Ling Xuan called him. She said that Lil Xin is sick and everything is very bad. Lin Xuan said that Lil Xing's whole body was burning. Zhu Ling asked her not to panic and wet a towel and put it on her forehead. He said that they would come to them right away. Zhu Ling quickly arrived at her house. He asked her when Lil Xin first showed symptoms. She said that it started 2 days after they returned from his house. Zhu Ling asked Lin Xuan that if the girl had already been sick for 2 days, why didn't she take her to the doctor, but she didn't answer him. The guy said that he understood her and suggested that she first measure her temperature. They measured the temperature, and looking at the girl's temperature, Zhu Ling was shocked. Zhu Ling said that their situation was bad and the girl should be taken to the hospital immediately. Kushi told Lin Xuan that if she didn't want to take the girl to the hospital, then she knew someone who could help her. Kushi said that she would bring her here right away, and after a while she brought there that strange nurse Gray. And suddenly the nurse took out that same green bottle and wanted to give the contents to the girl, but she couldn't swallow the medicine, and then she herself filled her mouth with this liquid and began to pass it to the girl through her mouth. The medicine immediately took effect and the girl's breathing returned to normal, and then the nurse wrote something on a piece of paper and handed it to Zhu Ling. Zhu Ling looked at this piece of paper and was surprised because Gray wrote that this girl was a bird. Kushi also read it and realized that she really belongs to birds. And then suddenly Zhu Ling noticed the dragon essence on Lil Xing's stomach, but the guy thought that wasn't it supposed to be an in-game reward, and he didn't understand why it was inside Lil Xin. Kushi wanted to take this essence, but suddenly it disappeared. Kushi did not understand what was happening, and then suddenly Lil Xin began to shake violently. All her friends stood and did not understand what was happening. Lin Xuan said that Lil Xing became human thanks to the power of the essence, but this force turned out to be too small and her bones returned to the bird structure, and she said that all this might not have happened if they had those same pills. Lil Xing's bones began to crack and Ling Xuan wanted to help her and said that she couldn't just stand there and do nothing while she was in pain. Zhu Ling held her back and said that Lil Xing should not be touched now. Zhu Ling approached Lil Xing and asked her if she could hear him. She told the guy that she was in a lot of pain. Zhu Ling told her that she would be fine. He promised her that she would get better very soon. Zhu Ling said that he would ask her one question. He asked her if she wanted to live with him. Lil Xin was happy and said that she agreed. And suddenly after these words, Lil Xin closed her eyes. Ling Xuan walked up to her and said in horror that her heart had stopped. Ling Xuan said, asking the girl to wake up and not leave her. And suddenly, at that moment, the dragon essence began to glow in Lil Xing's stomach again, and immediately Zhu Ling received a notification that information about the pet had been received and that preparations were underway for selection.